one that everyone's paying attention to right now is the Sitzer Burnett lawsuit. And the reason because that actually went to trial and now has a jury verdict. So this is a federal class action suit that represents approximately 500,000 Missouri homeowners. It's alleging unfair trade practices that are in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. And it's alleged that the National Association of Realtors and Home Services of America, which is huge, and Keller Williams, also huge brokerages, that they colluded to inflate the seller's cost of selling a home by requiring a certain commission rate that had to be shared, paid by the seller, that had to be shared with the buyer's agent. The allegation is that this largely happened through NAR's clear cooperation policy and also filtered down to the MLS rules. Most MLSs are owned by a realtor association, which is affiliated with NAR. So again, the defendants here were National Association of Realtors and two major brokers. The reason it's getting so much play right now is because a jury verdict was rendered. The jury found that the defendants were liable for violating the Antitrust Act, and the jury also concluded that the damages caused to these 500,000 or so Missouri homeowners was $1.8 billion. Now, in an antitrust lawsuit, you can actually, the damages there can be treble damages, meaning that the judge has the ability to actually raise the judgment against these three defendants up to $5.4 billion. That's a lot of money. And in a class action, you can also often have your attorney's fee, the plaintiff's attorney's fees can be paid by the defendant as well. So we're looking at quite a substantial possible judgment. Now, even though the jury's verdict is in, the trial court portion of this is still not quite over because the judge still has to issue an order. The jury is the finder of fact. Like, did they in fact break this law? And then what were the damages to the owners? But the judge has to then take that and then apply the law to see what the actual final order will be. So the judge is going to issue an order about the damages amount, how much they will have to pay in damages, and whether or not there will be an injunction. An injunction is where a court says you must do something or you must not do something. What we're expecting, there's all kinds of people talking about this, but the injunctive relief if it's on the weekend, not the weekend, but if it is a weak injunction, not weak, but not so bad. Then it could just say that you can have no more mandatory commission sharing. In other words, you can't say to a seller, in order to list your property in the MLS, you have to contribute 6% to commission or whatever the number is, and we must share half of that with the buyer's agent, because that's how we've gotten buyer's agents paid for a long time. That's the question. Can we kind of put that in bake that in on the front end? So they may just say you can't have mandatory commission payments or mandatory commission sharing. A harsher or more stringent version would be no more commission sharing, period. So that would be the seller pays whatever the listing agent is going to make, and then the buyer must pay their agent, the buyer's agent. And this injunction could go into effect immediately, or the judge could issue an injunction and say, but we're not going to put it into effect. It's called a stay. And the reason is because we know this is going to be appealed. NAR has vowed to appeal the verdict, and this will take years to get all the way through the process. So the argument for a stay is that it will have substantial implications for our industry, and it will impact the consumer. So perhaps we want to go ahead and see if there are any other legal issues that are going to be, it could be reversed completely. Do we want to make these changes before it happens? Right along with Sitzer, there was the Morrill and Gibson. And in Gibson, they actually have the same judge and the same plaintiff's lawyer. These are right behind this one. Those are also both class action, same issues, just much bigger numbers. Um, in the case of Morrill, it's a little bit different because it's the seller who's suing. Um, in the other two, Gibson and Burnett, it was the buyers who sued. So this is nowhere near over. However, the verdict has already instigated a lot of copycat lawsuits, and they are proliferating. Another big one was filed in Texas. I think it was on Tuesday of this week. Um, Several of the large national brokerages have gone ahead and settled in some of these other lawsuits, as well as Burnett. And these settlements could very likely have an impact on how our industry moves forward because these are such big firms. It will potentially change the industry.
Mhm.